In today's episode of the Shane Homes podcast, mortgage and real estate powerhouse Eli and Mike reveal how they built their successful real estate companies together. If you love growing businesses as much as I do, then this one's for you.
Yeah, I used to sell knives, also sold vacuums. 22 years later, I closed thousands of loans already. And
See, my brother, he is a real estate agent. And I was like, I was making $18,000 a year being a dental assistant. He made $13,000 in 1 month. I feel like everyone seems like it's so hard to like create a brand when it's really just.
Welcome back to the Shane Homes podcast. Today we have Eli and Mike. They are a powerhouse team on social media and in the real estate and mortgage space. Thank you guys so much for coming on today.
anytime, man, thank you so much for having us here today. We are honestly blessed to just connect with you. I mean, we heard a lot about you. We've seen your social media, your influence, your real estate, and we couldn't say no to somebody like you that's just scaling, growing.
Love it.
Plus, there's a Ferrari behind me that I'm like, that's just sick. Come on. Like, I've never been in a podcast with a Ferrari.
You
so
know, this is so
top.
cool, the setup. Thank you for having us today.
Of course, bro.
Being in your good energy and again, being around your Ferrari too. We love it. We tried matching. We tried matching as much as we can. Blue.
I love it.
The hair is almost the same color, you know?
Yeah, let's
I didn't
go.
know.
You know?
So how did you guys originally connect and become the team that you are?
Before we started the brand, the main thing was, obviously, I'm a divorced person. I got divorced a long time ago, and we were just, going online, searching for partnerships, we'll call it.
Yeah.
And we ended up connecting, and
Which was about 13 years ago.
about 13 years ago.
Okay.
Right?
So, we actually partnered up about 13 years ago. And before, he was already doing loans and what other kind of stuff you were doing? You were doing like refinancing and whatnot.
Yeah, I was doing a lot of different things because, back in 2008 when the market crashed, I was doing loans, but it wasn't the biggest part of business at that point because nobody wanted to get into loans at that time. Like everybody was exiting. So I was doing loans, but also got into legal assistant stuff, like trying to do foreclosure rescue,
Right.
helping people with bankruptcies. There was really no other option. You had to do something at that time.
And that's kind of like
Yeah.
when I joined him because I also started doing some of the bankruptcy, going to the courts and whatnot. And again, he was already in the loan world. And then about, since we've been together for 13 years, a couple years in, that's when I got my real estate license. And we did this because we really wanted to help people, but we wanted to do it together. And like,
Right.
what better way to do that than to help somebody with their loan and to help them buy or sell their home? You know
That's
what I mean?
great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And the
Yeah.
funniest thing too is most people find us as a complete perfect link, but we're completely opposite. And I think
Right,
that's what makes it
right.
better.
Yeah,
I mean, we get into it all the time. I'm like 50% of something else and he's 50%, or maybe 100% of ourselves. But the fact is that difference is what empowers us to push each other.
Right.
Because you know how hard it is to get a partner to do business with you. It's very difficult, especially if it's your significant other.
Yes,
So it makes
right.
it very challenging.
Yes, definitely.
But it's made us better in many different scopes of our business because now we understand what he's good at, what I'm good at. We don't pollute each other's space.
Yeah.
Because then that causes the problems, right? So
Right.
he's eccentric. I'm a little bit more calm-minded and more.
Yeah.
I think I told you when we showed up, I'm very stress-free.
Yeah.
I don't worry about nothing. And he's more concerned.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I'm like spending money. Let's go. He's like, hold up. How much are you spending? Do we have any money left? So it's a little different.
I'm
for
like,
him.
where's the blueprint?
Where's the blueprints?
Oh,
I mean, you're
that's
wearing the
great.
blueprints.
Oh,
there
yeah,
you go.
exactly.
He is wearing the blueprint.
Right.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
true. Can't argue with that.
Love it.
So 13 years you guys have been together doing business, and kudos to you to be able to be partners in business and life. Like,
Thank you.
I can't imagine that being easy. So to be able to pull that off, like,
Thank
good
you,
for you
thank
guys.
you.
Yeah, it's been something.
We definitely watch your podcast and follow you as well. And you have 2 children. And are you married, I believe?
I'm married. Yep.
Okay.
I got a
Okay.
wife. I've got a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Oh my
Wow,
God, loves
congratulations.
it. So we also have children as well.
Oh, you
and
do?
so
That's
we
awesome.
have a 20-year-old and a 17-year-old.
Yep.
And so, so you working together, having children together,
Yeah.
what you're doing here, obviously, I'm sure your wife obviously is involved in some of it. So, I'm sure
She's holding down the fort for
okay.
sure.
Okay, there you go,
I
exactly.
couldn't do this shit without
Right.
her. There's
Right.
no way. Like,
Mhm.
she's holding down the fort, and actually, she really helps me a lot with making big decisions too.
Mhm.
Right.
Right.
People
Amazing.
don't see that from the background though. I don't really talk about it as often.
Okay.
It usually
Yes.
stays like strictly business.
Right.
But she really has, because her dad is wired very similar to me.
Love
Okay.
Like, he was a high performer in the car business. He owned an auction company.
Oh, wow.
So she's kind of used to that kind of man.
Yes.
So
yes.
so she gives really good advice in high
love
stress
that.
situations
Oh my
and
God,
decisions
yes.
and stuff. So
Yes,
and
definitely.
for you guys to have each other,
Mhm.
to kind of being on the opposite sides to
Right.
bounce things off each other,
Yeah,
I'm sure that's awesome.
I love that
It
shout
is,
out
yeah.
you had to her. So shout out to you.
Shout out, babe. I
Right.
love you.
We love you. We
But
love
what's her
you.
name?
Michelle.
Yeah,
Michelle.
Michelle. And that was beautiful because honestly, we tell people that as well. Like we were just saying it the other day that like I can't do it without him and he can't do it without me because sometimes he's the one with the really great ideas. And I'm like, oh, honestly, like if I didn't have that idea, I don't know where we would be today.
Yeah.
And you know, we still have these feelings after 13 years of doing business together, raising children. So it's a great feeling to have that partner. you
Yeah.
know?
I always
love
say
it.
that she doesn't work, but she has the harder job. Like being at
Right,
home
yeah.
with the kids when
Right.
I'm alone
Oh
with
my
the
God.
kids, I'm like, how the fuck do you do this?
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
I am
Oh
not
my
wired
God.
for this. I
Yeah.
cannot
Right.
do it. I will go out and kill and provide all day,
You
but
know?
I don't know how she's at home
Yes,
doing it. bro.
yes.
It's definitely a hard job. I would not be able to stay home all day and watch
Mhm,
kids.
mhm.
There's no way.
Right.
No.
I mean,
right.
I already paid my dues already. My daughter's 20 and my son's 17. I think I've done it more than enough, but I
And
wouldn't run
we
and
say
relive
we
it.
wouldn't do it because how hard it is, how much work it is, how
Yeah.
much, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we're
yeah.
blessed
Yeah.
when we have our significant other who is there to help us out. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The best
Exactly.
ever.
So
Yeah.
what market are you guys primarily operating in?
Yes.
So I'm in the mortgage space. So anything mortgage related anywhere in the United States. My company has a license in about 31 states.
Okay.
So we lend anywhere. Obviously, if it's a DSCR loan or investment loans, hard money deals, we can do them anywhere in the country.
Mhm.
Sometimes we dip into international waters depending on
Mhm.
the type of details of that particular transaction we're going to be dealing with.
Mhm.
But that's normally on the loan side. I know you
Yeah,
dip into the real
Definitely,
estate side.
I'm in the real estate mostly for myself. Obviously, we do a ton of different things, but for me, it's mainly the real estate. Currently at Rodeo Realty.
Mhm.
So, reason for that is because you know we're also getting more
Mhm.
involved in the celebrity lifestyles and kind of like the Paris Hiltons and trying to get to like the Kylie Jenners and Kim Kardashians. And because of that, I really wanted a powerful name behind me, which Rodeo Realty, you go to Rodeo for all the fancy things. And, our office is right on Rodeo in Beverly Hills. So,
Yeah.
People who are pulling up in front of our offices like Justin Bieber or Aquaman, and they're parking right with our valet. And,
Yeah.
these are the people that are walking by my office. Or maybe sometimes even standing in front of it because there's a lot of restaurants right around it.
Yeah.
And they're seeing that name, Rodeo Realty. They're seeing my name on front of the office. Eli and Mike Studios is there, the mortgage lenders. And having all that together is really getting me more involved with these celebrities and the higher end properties. But that doesn't mean I'm not selling properties or helping buyers like in price ranges of $200,000, $300,000, because, we also have offices like in the Inland Empire. So I'm just helping people, or we are actually,
Right.
because we're doing the loans and real estate
Mhm.
from the Inland Empire all the way to the Calabasas area. So we just have like this long stretch of business that we do in the real estate and mortgage world for sure.
And we're very huge in marketing. I mean, two of the biggest influencers of the world, from what he said, whether it's Kim Kardashian or Paris Hilton, their biggest thing is marketing. You
Yeah.
market
Mhm.
in a way where it's unheard of. You do everything you possibly
Right.
can to just make nobody forget you,
Mhm.
which they did a pretty good job with some of their videos, right? But
And Shane,
but-
you know this. I mean, we're sitting right now on a podcast with a Ferrari behind us.
Right.
And can you tell us a little bit about the marketing? Like, why did you choose this color, the Ferrari to be right behind you? Because
So
I don't see nobody doing this.
I look at it very similarly in the same light that you guys do.
Mhm.
What we're doing is building a brand.
Right.
And
Yes.
building your brand as big as possible, I think, is the number one driver of not only separating yourself from the crowd, but
Right.
also driving more business.
Yes.
And there's so many things you can do once you have a big brand. Who's to
Mhm.
say that in 20 years I'll still be selling real estate? Like,
Right.
I don't know.
Exactly.
Like, you never know where having a big brand can take you
Yes.
because of like the names that you're mentioning. Once you
Mhm.
build something
Right.
big,
Yes.
opportunities come from it.
Exactly.
And I don't know what they're going to be, but they'll come eventually.
Right,
Yeah.
right. It looks like they're going to be big opportunities, but just saying.
Thanks,
And
love that.
the best thing is you're doing it with your podcast. The podcast, I think,
Yeah.
is the best highway of bringing all the business in,
Yeah.
because it also indicates that you have a professional, real reason to network with people. It's the best networking system because
Mhm.
people are coming to you.
I fully agree
You're
with
getting
that.
people
Right.
to show up on your show, and it makes you look very sophisticated. It makes you look like you have things. How do you say, like participate on the conversation?
Yeah.
And it is the best way. Plus, you also get to capture them for a minute.
Right.
You're kind of hostage for about an hour.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna interrogate you for a little bit just to
Yes.
ask you questions. And that's the reason why we did the podcast, why we do it so fluently, is because what do we got? 55 already?
About.
Right, about
so we're
55
still pretty
podcasts?
fresh.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
we
have
started it
about
last year,
55, yeah.
but our focus wasn't really to do it as a to make it monetizational.
Yeah.
It was really more for us to kind of read a book.
Uh-huh.
Kind of like we get to read a chapter from you, read a
Yes.
chapter from someone else.
That's
and
that's very accurate.
Thank you. And
Yeah.
then, and from that, now we know, all right, this is what we should do with this. How come we're not doing that? Why is he doing that before we're doing it?
Mhm.
And we connect on that, and then we start working on it. That's why we're working on all these different things
Mhm.
behind the background,
Yeah.
because you're right about the brand. The brand is everything. That's why we consolidated our names,
Mhm.
Eli and Mike, as a brand, because a brand is really strong when you use a name,
Right.
like Paris Hilton, Kim Kardashian,
Right.
Eli and Mike, Shane, all
Right.
these names create this brand, like you said, and now people find you unforgettable.
Right.
And now you could throw in your Ferrari, you can throw in all
Yes.
these extra little pieces of the puzzle that now compile this big old pyramid you're creating of everybody saying, "Oh my God, worship him."
And
He's-
it's,
he's a-
I
you
feel
know?
like everyone seems like it's so hard to like create a brand when it's really just you. So we're sitting in your podcast studio, and I think about your podcast all the time, but it's because you're being yourself. Literally, your name is Shane Holmes, and that's what I think of when I think of your podcast. I think of the Ferrari. So you really just have to be yourself. And again, your name being
Yeah.
so simple, Shane Holmes, you
Mhm.
know, it already is making people remember you because you're being yourself.
What's
you know?
funny is that for the longest time, I think I said this on my last podcast,
Mhm.
my last name is Dolgaroff.
Mhm.
And that's a hard
Wow.
one. And it's not something that like
Yeah, I can't say
if
it.
you see it on a piece of paper,
Uh-huh.
like you can't really forget the last name Dolgaroff
Right,
because you've
yeah.
never seen it before.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes.
But I changed my Instagram to Shane Holmes like 8 years ago.
Oh wow.
And then I never wanted to brand everything as Shane Holmes. I was
Mhm.
Shane Dolgaroff and Associates and whatever.
Wow.
And then everyone just kept calling me Shane Holmes. I'm like,
yeah, that's
why
what we know you by Shane
why would I
Holmes.
not
Yeah.
like just run with
Yeah,
it? So then
right.
like 3 years ago, I finally was like,
Mhm.
all right, let's just run with this.
Run with it.
God.
Because it's memorable.
Oh my God.
Just like
Yeah,
you
it
guys
is.
did.
Yeah.
Eli and Mike.
It
That's
is.
very
Yes.
memorable. And I
Right.
think that's one of the most
Uh-huh.
important parts of brand.
It's so
is like
cool.
having something that's like, oh, that's kind of
Right.
catchy.
Yeah,
Eli
yeah,
and Mike,
yeah,
that's
exactly.
cool. Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
it was something you were naturally using, right? And then people
Yeah.
would just obviously naturally call you that.
Yeah. Like all
Shane
my
Holmes.
friends just started calling me,
Yeah.
oh, Shane Holmes is
Right.
here.
Yeah, yeah,
Let's
yeah.
go. Yeah.
And that's what's so crazy about our story. The same exact story. People would just, because we were always together. So people would always be, oh, Eli and Mike are here. Or, oh, it's Eli and Mike. And so at one point we were just like, what do we brand ourselves as? Like the realtor and the lender team, whatever. We were just trying to come up with ideas. And we were
coming
like,
up with company names, and I'm like, that's not going to work. You have to leave something so memorable. So like
Mhm.
when we hang out with the Paris Hiltons or other
Right.
celebrities,
yeah, yeah.
they'll never
yeah.
forget you by name if you show up as a brand. So
Right.
there's a difference, right? You show up as a person,
Mhm.
you're not really a brand. You're just Shane.
You're just
but
a
you
person,
show
yeah.
up with the
As
whole
Shane
package,
Holmes,
right?
You know what I mean?
You brought the Ferrari, you brought
Right.
the podcast all with
Yes.
you in this image, right? So
That
we're an
buying,
image.
you know?
The only thing they get with us is they forget who's Mike and Eli. That's the only part.
Right.
So they're like,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
Eli.
yeah.
No, I'm
Yeah.
actually Eli.
Yeah.
But that's the only difference with us because we're two people instead of one, which makes it easier too
Mhm.
because we're kind of throwing the net out and we're kind of bringing people in because
Mhm.
there's
Yeah.
two of us fighting together to get that, whether it's a
Right.
lead, whether it's a new client,
Mhm,
whether it's
mhm.
just getting focused on getting some new
Yeah.
celebrity to just
Yeah.
not forget us. In your
Right.
case, you're doing it alone. So it's a
Mhm.
little bit harder,
Yeah.
I would assume, right?
Yeah.
Because you're branding individual.
It's definitely hard. For the longest time, I was just a complete lone wolf, like no
Mhm.
employees, nothing.
Mhm,
That now that I started the firm, I'm finally
Yes.
hiring people. Like this year, we brought
Congrats,
on 2 employees. Thank
love
you.
It, love it. Amazing.
And so changing from an independent role into more of a brand
Mhm.
and a brokerage with employees,
yes.
that has been the biggest change and like the
Mhm.
biggest differentiator
Right,
by a
right,
long
right.
shot. And it's
Oh,
only
yeah.
been like maybe,
Mhm.
I think the firm has been 90 days. And then
Mhm,
I
mhm.
think Tyler, what has it been, 4 months or so?
Wow.
And
amazing.
Changing from that independent wolf into more of an organization has
Mhm.
been like the biggest blessing
Wow.
ever.
Oh, definitely,
Wow.
definitely, yeah. And coming into it with your brand already, your name, even though it's 90 days in. Again, we're watching your podcast and we're just like thinking you've had this podcast for like a couple of years now.
No, it's
But
brand new.
you know-
Yeah.
yeah.
But you have that established name, Shane Holmes, and that's what kept going on in my head. I was like,
Oh,
oh,
that's
this
funny.
realtor, like he has like a podcast he's doing so good. He has his Ferrari, his studio looks amazing. But again, in my head, I'm just like, dang, I wonder how long it's taken him to get to this point and like how many years he's been doing his podcast. Because again, we barely had about 55 plus guests. And then,
Yeah.
we find out about 4 months in, and which is so amazing because that's
Thanks,
how much
bro.
of a staple you're making already. Just again, because you have that brand, the Shane Holmes,
I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, definitely.
I actually, I flew out to Ryan Pineda. I think that was like my first or second like podcast.
amazing.
And after I went to go check out like what he was doing, I was like, all right, I got to do this. What was that trigger for you guys when you were like, okay, we need to start a podcast?
You know what's funny? We saw Albert from the Mortgage Guys.
Yeah.
I remember him doing that as on Sunset. So he started doing a lot of it. And because we worked with him for so long, I can admit the fact that we both kind of got very interested in the fact of how he was collecting data from people.
Right.
So it's really a way to, like I said, you kind of imprison somebody for about an hour, as crazy as it sounds, but you kind of have them sit and you're kind of vulnerable to each other.
Yeah.
There's no exit.
100%.
You got an hour, tell me whatever you want to talk to me about and let's go for it. So when we saw that, we noticed you're reading that guy's book.
Right.
You're learning from that person. And we're like, Mike, why don't we do something so we can learn more? Because reading the book is one thing, but reading the book directly from the mouth of somebody and seeing it through their eyes, you can read the eyes, and when they're telling you the story, like, wow, you've been through something. I learned a lot faster. At least I feel like I learned a lot faster.
I only learned that way.
Right. I think we realized like the type of relationship you get when you do a podcast compared to going to like a networking event.
Right.
It's just so totally different.
It's a different animal.
Right.
It is.
I golf a fair amount.
Okay.
And it's like when I get someone on the golf course, it's a different level. You're getting to see them and you're getting to have that next level of connection and learning too.
Right.
And it just changes everything. Like last week we had Hector Padilla on here.
God,
really
amazing.
great guy.
Oh, we had him too.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we had Hector Padilla.
So
Right.
I had
He's
Hector on and
amazing.
he was telling me, he's like, for investing, like your deal size should be bigger. Cause I buy a lot of single family houses and I build ADUs.
Okay. Yes.
And I've done well with that. But it's very hard to build a substantial net worth in a shorter amount of time.
Right.
When you're only buying single family and you're building it to 2 or 3 units. And literally after having him on this week, I pulled every single multifamily building within a 20-mile radius and we're just blasting them.
Amazing.
And we're just like pushing the deal flow up. And that was all from the I honestly wouldn't be doing that this week if it wasn't from the podcast.
Right.
And it really changes stuff.
Oh yeah. We sat with him and he also taught us, how to get in front of sellers and, go into these big properties that are like 15 million in price. And we're literally talking directly with the sellers. And we never even knew that was one of the most powerful ways to, get your way when you're trying to purchase or whatever you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And so ever since we met with him as well, we've already been in like 4 or 5 mansions speaking directly with these sellers, trying to see if we could work out a deal. And again, I don't think if we were to have our podcast with him as well, we would have never been standing in those $15 million properties, right?
Yeah, so I feel like now that we've done 55, I feel like a piece of everybody is now in us. So now we kind of know what to do in certain situations.
Totally.
From like social media, we've had a lot of influencers that have millions of followers. And that's why we created a new page, the Eli and Mike Live page, because we learned from them. First, you have to capture such a large audience organically, and you got to do something a little bit outside the box. Because the newer generational individuals, like, what is that generation? What's the youngest? Generation X, Y, Z? Is it Z? I don't even know what it is. Whatever. So the newer generation eventually is going to need to buy. They're eventually going to need to be taught by somebody, right?
Yeah.
But us older people doing real estate and mortgage are boring as hell. So how do we entertain them? We got to be
so boring.
Right, it's so boring. So we
yeah.
do it more TikTok-ish in a way. So it's more entertaining. We capture them. We build this network of people. And then you slowly start integrating your business, your culture in that new atmosphere. And then you start soliciting in a positive fashion, educational information to make these individuals better equipped for their future, whether it's business, whether it's attire like suits, whatever it's going to take. So we've learned from all these influencers. Yeah, you can influence and make money and monetize on social media. That could be one method of growth.
Right.
But we don't know a lot about social media as far as how the algorithm works. We kind of hired somebody for that.
Right.
But I feel like if we're trying to sell a product or the brand, what is that product? What is that brand? What are we trying to sell that's going to monetize us automatically versus, we're over here slaving away, showing homes, listing properties, doing mortgage loans versus throwing out a course, getting $29 a month for it per person. Let's just say 5% of everybody on your following does it. That's very little amount of people. 5% paying $29 a month if you have hundreds of thousands of followers or $700,000 a month of revenue.
Yeah.
Just in the course that you can teach somebody something small, but you have to kind of make it so dumb proof at first to make it seem so simple. So people are just like the flies over the blue eyes, just blue light going, oh, let me see what it's all about. Sorry. Let me see what it's all about.
Yeah.
And then once you're there, you kind of capture them in a positive way. You capture them and here you go. Here's the light. Let me show you how it is of what we do and how I can help you grow your business.
Yeah.
And it has to be real too. You know,
Has to be real.
obviously, you know, we're doing real estate, we're doing loans, we're doing, you know, fashion. And when we say fashion, you know, we are literally walking like the runways of like New York and Los Angeles Fashion Week and partnering with these people. We're doing influencing, you know, we're getting like 5 million views on videos or 3 million and this on different platforms, you know. So again, we're doing this, but we're making sure that, you know, we're going to actually have value to provide to the, you know, the people who actually subscribe to this type of stuff.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants to do courses. We're going to do it and make sure that that value is really there. You know what I mean? And again, 22 plus years in his world and 10 plus for me, it's like, you know, we have the proof that we can make it happen. You know what I mean?
And also a lot of people don't want to call mom and dad's agent when it comes time to buy.
Yeah.
And who are they going to call? Well, they're going to call the brand they remember.
Exactly.
And they're going to call the person that they look up to.
Right.
And be like, oh, I would love to buy a house with this person.
Yes.
I watch their content.
Yes.
And my clientele base is usually in that like 40 plus category because they're like that higher net worth.
Right.
But in time, 5-10 years, like I don't
Yes.
look at social media as a, how can I extract dollars right now? I look at it as like, okay, in 5 years, when the sort of the wealth starts transferring a little bit, and especially in 10 years, like that is where I see a lot of that business going.
No, definitely. And
Correct.
have you had like people actually hit you up from Instagram or
Yeah.
social media, right? And
Yeah.
they want to purchase, correct?
Yeah, I sell a fair amount of houses from social media. Like this year alone has been pretty good just from social media. Like this year I took a story on the course. I was like, hey, I have this house. And then someone that was following hit me up and we sold it for on the golf course, went
no
straight from the
way.
golf
That's
course to the
amazing.
house and,
Oh
and
my
sold
God.
it. Yeah,
No
like,
way.
It's
Love
real.
that.
Yeah.
It is. It is. And you're totally right. Again, we're doing this to influence, to have eyes on us. But when you do that, you never know who's watching. So we even had, you know, a couple who were maybe, like you said, in their 40s, 50s, and they already had an agent, but their kids are the one who were watching us. And they actually went to their parents and they had said, hey, you know, that other realtor, it doesn't seem like they're working hard for you. We saw this realtor online. You should really try them out. And they were like, you know, I think they were like 13 and 15-year-old daughters of the couple. And basically they were like, okay, you know, they trusted in their kids. They saw the Instagram, they gave us a call and we were able to do their loan and their real estate transaction and outperform that other agent by 100%. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's
But
awesome.
again, it came from us doing a video about fashion or a real estate or loan. We were doing our influencing and maybe we didn't catch that 40 or 50-year-old, but we did catch the children that got to see it and they talked to the parents and it just made a whole...
Either way, you caught them.
You know, right, exactly. Yeah, you know what I mean?
And social
So-
media is like the new form of television. I mean, nobody watches TV anymore. It's
Yeah.
like either YouTube or some kind of Netflix or something, right? Some series. When you have people watching social media, no matter what age it is, you find it credible to some extent. You think, okay, so they must be doing something right. Why do they have so many people eyes on them? Why are so many comments on there? Why are there a lot of likes? There must be some credibility. And if you Google your name and you pop up all over the place, all right, well, this guy or this individual has enough credibility to be on Google, to be on social media, to be on, have a website. So that's so important now because we're naturally born to discredit people. We want to find something like a flaw. We want to say, oh, well, but there's something funny here. I feel something weird with this person. But if you can find so much evidence, so much information, kind of like you're an FBI agent and you're looking up all this information about agents and everything. You're like, well, I found a lot about them. All right, well, then they seem credible. I just watch. It's like you just watch TV, you watch the news, and you did your own research, and now you're excited to work with these people. So the teenagers, the younger adults that are watching this stuff, that are watching your podcast, they're just like, I mean, credible.
And I mean, and you're a realtor, so you know, ultimately our job is really there to help other individuals, help people invest, help people buy, help people sell. We're in this to help people. So even though we're doing these different type of social media skits where we're, you know, doing fashion or just influencing or different type of things, ultimately in the end, we're hoping that it connects to somebody like we did with that couple and their children. And then we were able to really help them with our licenses in regards to the real estate and loans. And then we know we really made a difference and we helped somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I also find that like with existing friends that I have or like people that live in the area, it's a great way to just stay in front of people. Like a lot of people call your sphere, like, you know, like they coach you, call your sphere. I mean, it's not a bad idea. I'm not going to discredit that, but it's so much more important to be on social media. Like
oh my God.
if your friend wants to buy or sell, and they've seen you on social media for the past like 7 years that you've been doing this and that you're still doing it, they're gonna call you.
Right.
And like, so I'm I'm 30, so I'm starting to get some of my friends that are now in the position to buy and sell.
Right.
And because we've just been doing it, like there's your social proof. And some people also, let's say I meet someone at an open house or whatever it is. I have my Instagram on the back of my business card,
Yes.
which we'll clip in here to like show
we
it.
love that. There you go. There you go.
And when they look you up and they see that like you're a verified like person on social media and you're actually making content,
it's
such an easier sell.
It absolutely is.
Like it's so you're not fighting that uphill battle of like, who is this schmuck? He has 12 Google reviews and like he's not on Instagram. He has 5 followers.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Exactly.
You're not fighting that uphill battle of why should I work with you? It's like, oh, okay.
Totally.
And
important.
Yeah. And now with the market changing now, I mean, a lot of people fell off already doing real estate and mortgage. A lot of people are out of the market.
Yeah.
I think we not lost, but I think when we switched over to mortgage lenders in Rodeo, I think because we had right about, I would say 80 people working for us. Now we have about 30, right? So we not necessarily lost, but most of these people just gave up.
Yeah.
Right.
And they weren't the best closers anyways,
Yeah.
but the fact is, imagine other companies. I'm sure you felt through the same hole, like, okay, well, where am I going to go? But this is also an opportunity of us becoming kind of like better, capturing the bigger part of the market.
100%.
Yeah.
So I feel like we're actually barely scratching the surface.
Right.
And we're doing something that I think is really going to be very scalable.
Yeah.
And we have to do whatever it takes to be in front of the face of everybody, because at the end, you want to be the realtor that everybody trusts versus the realtor that nobody even knows about behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying one is better than the other. You got the Ricky Caruths that are just amazing at doing 100 listings a year with their eyes closed, right?
Right.
And they don't have to do crazy social media because of their experience. People just call them and they know. But he does do social media because he also knows the value. So there's so much value in everything that we do, from podcasts to influencing to being recorded right now. So there's many steps that we're taking to grow, and those that are not doing it are the ones that are falling off.
Yeah. I always tell agents, like, you literally have to do everything.
Yeah.
You have to do mail. You have to do paid social media ads. You have to do organic social media.
Yeah.
You have to have a podcast.
Yeah.
Like whatever your vertical is, if you're into golf or cars, whatever it is, you need to be branding towards those people.
Right.
Like you can't just do one thing, especially in these really funky markets where a lot of people are just getting bulldozed over right now.
Yeah.
Like you said, you were casting a really big net and still pushing growth in a pretty fucked up market.
Right.
But there's upside because once the market turns, it's going to be insane.
Yeah, we're the last one standing.
So true. I mean, you were telling us, can I talk about your commission from before?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. You were even telling us you were at a company before where you're making like 100% commission. And if you're in real estate or loans, that's pretty hard to get to. It takes about, like you said, 8 years to, really have people just say, here's 100%. So you're making that, but you recently, in these markets that are a little bit tougher for a lot of people, you switched over to your own brokerage, creating your own business, doing Shane Homes, and you were saying how much more better that is.
Yeah. The company that I was at had a model where it was like close to 100%, and they gave me like basically that.
Yes.
I was getting money every month. I won't say exactly how much, just to respect them, but I was getting paid every single month just to breathe.
Wow.
And then I also had my office paid for. But I saw the upside in branding bigger. And now we have an office on the water, and we have signage there.
Wow.
And like making those kinds of like big moves, even though right now I'm technically losing money because of it.
Right.
When the market turns, or even not, like in 3 months, I'll look back and be like,
yeah. And that's what I was going to say. You went from like 100% to actually going to pay for something now out of your pocket, which means it's not 100% right now.
No, it's literally a worse deal.
Right.
And it's what I pitch to agents too. Like, it's not always about the commission split. Like I was making more money over there.
Yes.
Exactly. And you just made the same move to Rodeo. Like, presume that you're making less money.
Yes.
But you're making more money.
Exactly.
Like it's not about the commission split. It's about what does your P&L look like at the end of the day? What is your profit and loss, and how many dollars are going into your bank account?
Right.
If you're going to close, it's so easy to wash out a real estate commission split. So if someone's charging you 20% and you're doing 5 deals, now you got to do 6.
Right.
It's like, and if you're at if you have a new business relationship that you're now able to do 6 deals, there's your spread.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And people make it so complicated.
Yeah.
It's really not that serious.
Right. Honestly, yes.
And I think the biggest thing too is a lot of people in this market should understand how to reutilize their funds. So perfect example is I see a lot of people, they make their money. Let's just say their commission is $10,000.
Yeah.
A lot of people will teach you, hey, use your money and reinvest it in your business. Put it back in whatever it is, even though it's not monetizing, I mean, let's be real, the podcast isn't necessarily made for monetization.
No.
Unless you're like Sean Kelly, right? You're charging people to show up on your show, right?
Okay,
Which we showed up on the show and we didn't pay. Oop, maybe I shouldn't have said that.
Wow.
But you can scrap
It's
that part
because we
out.
interviewed him. We interviewed him.
We interviewed him
Yeah.
at his place, but he didn't charge us. Anyways, so unless you're monetizing the podcast, it really isn't something that you're investing in. Your whole investment of all your money. So an example is let's just go back. $10,000. You should really be putting in about 70, maybe 75% of all that money back in your business. So the biggest thing me and him do, I handle a lot of the finance, by the way. So the biggest thing that I do is I say, here's money, and here's the little part we're going to keep.
Yeah.
We're keeping this part just to survive. The rest is just going back in the business. Podcasts, social media, marketing, paying our payroll, paying this, paying that, all this stuff, the ad spend. It's going back in there because if we don't do that now, someone else is going to do it. Shane's going to do it, right?
Right.
Someone else is going to do it, right?
Yeah,
Someone's going to
He's
reinvest.
like, I'm
Opening
ready.
an office on Rodeo.
Yeah,
There you go.
exactly.
So-
Or he's already on the water. So,
Right?
Just
And obviously that's a good example. We opened the office on Rodeo for the pure fact that it's the best place to socialize with a very high net worth individual.
next to the
right?
water.
Absolutely.
Next to the
Next
water.
to the,
Because that's like, that's our next. We have,
that's next for
that
sure.
sounds amazing,
But
honestly.
that's the biggest part that people fell on is they
Yeah.
keep the money instead of putting it back in their business. They
Yeah.
keep it, they spend it on trips, vacations. Oh, I'm going to go on 6 vacations this year and I'm going to do this and that. I'm like, bro, but your business isn't growing. It's not scaling. It's not going to get to the next level. Unless you're this mega multi-millionaire, billionaire already, fine. That makes sense, right? But if you're growing, you're scaling, you're building your business, there's so much that you can grow with. I mean, because there's this thing about looking rich and not being rich.
Yeah.
I think you know what I mean, right?
Right. You had
So-
Hector on the show, so you know.
Yeah, well, he's
Yeah.
wealthy for sure.
Right.
But the fact is, people need to know how to delegate their funds in such a fashion where it makes sense that you're going to build.
Yeah.
And it sucks too. We're in a position where it kind of sucks to be us as much as people might not think so, because we don't keep the money. We throw it back in. We rotate it. We circle it so that it's growing for us. It's being used for us instead of us spending it. As much as we're dressed in suits, but we're very not discount buyers. We're very selective and we negotiate a lot of things that we buy so that we're able to keep our funds yet not spend too much so that we can still look like the brand.
Yeah.
Because the brand is suits, the brand is
Right.
the
It's
Ferraris,
work,
the brand is
you
all
know.
that, right? It's a lot of work, but I think that's the biggest problem a lot of people have is they don't know how to spend their money. They just keep it because they're worried about the market. They're worried about they're not going to have that money if the next deal doesn't close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So already thinking about negative ideas, negative thoughts
Yeah.
when they should be thinking positively.
Right.
And
Are you like somebody like us? We were having a conversation with Brad Lee, and we thought it was like a couple years back, and we thought we were like so powerful because we had like, this is so funny, probably, but like $10,000 in the bank after all our bills were paid, and we had like $10,000, our cars,
remember
everything.
that.
And we were like, yeah, Brad Lee, like we finally have saved money, and there's some money in our bank account. And he was like, why are you not spending that $10,000 and making it more?
Yeah.
And that's when we like broke and we were like, wait, why are we not? After that conversation, we turned that 10,000 over $1 million.
Yeah.
But it was because we had that scarcity mindset where it's like, we need to have money in the bank account. Now, the more we can have it out of our bank account, making us money, it's better for us. But were you one of those people too that you felt like you had to have the money in your bank?
No,
Okay.
I hate sitting on cash.
I love
great.
I get
love
so
that.
complacent.
And see, we loved
Yeah.
sitting on it.
Yeah.
Like that's what we love.
I've
Well, back in the
never-
day,
when we
right?
were
Back in the day.
uneducated.
Yeah.
You know?
I've
Right.
always I started selling when I was 20,
Okay, yes.
and ever since I've had 2 nickels to rub together, as soon as I had 5% down, I bought a property.
Wow.
Fantastic.
And then I go again, and then I bought another one, and then
Mhm.
it just keep the cycle going.
Powerful.
So it's either when I was early on, a lot of that was going into real estate, and now
Love it.
it still kind of goes into real estate, or like this year I got the office and hired
Right.
2 people,
Mhm.
and then I'm taking another, I just had a pretty good win on a flip that I did.
Wow.
And instead of
Congrats.
sitting on that cash,
Mhm.
I'm joining Sherwood at Country Club,
Amazing.
where you can go network with people
Fantastic.
and
Oh my
grow
God.
your network,
Wow.
which eventually converts into way more dollars than
Yes.
sitting on it and making 5%
Mhm.
in a CD or whatever
Right.
you would do with it. So
Mhm.
no, I'm very much that way. I do not like sitting on cash.
Mhm.
I like having like minimal
Power.
reserve, like
Yes,
enough of a
exactly.
reserve to carry me for
Uh-huh.
6 months.
Right,
I always say
exactly,
like you
of
got to
course.
keep at least 6
You know,
months
Right.
just in case things get
Mhm.
really sketchy.
Right.
But
right.
other than that, I don't care what the market's doing. I don't care what people are saying.
Mhm.
That money's going somewhere where it's making money for me.
Love that.
Yeah.
I love that
Love
so
that.
much. Yeah,
Fantastic.
definitely.
Something that you said earlier about agents and thinking that how they're going to hold on or like they're going to get into the market you're always competing with someone else, whether you know it or not.
Mm-hmm.
There's someone else in your market taking your market share. And that's what people need to realize. If you're not growing, someone else is.
Right.
That deal is going into someone else's pipeline.
Right.
And especially in these weird markets, if you're not grinding really hard, you're competing against the person that is.
Right.
So like when that opportunity does come, you're going to go up, like, let's say it's a house in Westlake and like, you're kind of just floating on your coattails and like, you got a little money in the bank account. You're not really working all that hard.
Right.
You're going to come in against someone who you can tell is just a beast and just ready to go. And that client is going to feel that.
Exactly.
They're going to know this guy is still going in a down market. And you're going to walk in there with your, whatever it is, like just chilling and your energy is just kind of like, I'm in coast mode. I'm in conservation mode. Conservation mode is the worst. If you're not growing, you're dying. And I live by that. Like 100%. For sure.
Powerful.
Yeah. We're very aggressive. We're very confrontational when it comes down to exploring new ideas. We always want to try something new. I learned a long time ago. I'm 45, so I'm 15 years older than you. So I've learned a lot through failures. And I feel like in that process, I learned that conserving your funds, conserving ideas, waiting for somebody else to do it first. Like all those bad ideas were initially brought up to us by our parents. Like, wait, everything's going to take its time. Because our parents, let's be real, our parents are more conservative, right? They were born in the way of nurturing things, keeping things together, hold your fort. When in reality, we should be the ones throwing the spears.
Don't dye your hair purple.
Yeah, don't dye your hair purple. I mean, but now
Mom, dye my hair purple.
right, yeah. Sorry for influencing.
But I think that's the old school method of building and growing, right? Yeah. Now you're doing something completely opposite, which is exactly what people should be doing is using every ounce of your mind and body, soul to just go forward and find new ways of creating wealth, creating new relationships. We did the same thing. We actually joined this group called the Avengers a while back where Dan Fleshman and Cody Sperber and other individuals are in. And we joined them a long time ago and we built the biggest, most massive relationships there because they're great in the real estate space, but also the marketing space. And we learned a lot from there from social media as well. And we took a token of information from them and now we reinvested it in ourselves and we're doing things together now. So I think what you just said right now is doing something and throwing that spear and saying, all right, I'm going to take that over and I'm going to do it my way. And I'm going to show you that I can build your wealth by being that amazing realtor you are, by saying, hey, you want that property? Let me show you how. Here's the layout. Here's the listing information. Here's how I can sell. You're being what we call extra, but everybody needs that little bit of extra now because that extra went away during COVID. Everybody stopped being less extra. Marketplaces are empty. Nobody's working. Everybody's lazier.
Being themselves. You know,
everybody's
you're being
so much more
yourself.
lazier.
You have your Ferrari here and it's like, again, like your color that you want, you know, it matches who you are. And again, you're still being yourself and you're still able in a hard market to open your new office, to still close real estate, hire individuals. You know, myself and Eli are also the same. We work really hard, but at the same time, we are also ourselves. So again, purple hair, you know, crazy blue suits. Our desk outside is also chrome blue. Like
I saw that coming up. I was like,
yeah.
Super shiny. But again, the statistics for like a real estate agent last year was either you're closing 0 or 1 transaction. That you're a good realtor in California. But I'm over here like every month, like 5, 7, 8, 9. And it's because we're working really hard, but also we have that ability to just be like, you know what, let's be ourselves today. If we want to wear a suit, this is who we are. Eli's like, hey, I'm dyeing my hair today. I'm like, if that's what makes you happy, if that's what's going to drive you, our lending team, just us being our little team that we have, has like 15 to 30 deals every single month. So we're like pushing so many different deals when people, again, are at that 0 or 1 mark per year. You know, we're just doing so much more, but we're just being comfortable. We're being ourselves. And when you're able to be yourself, I think that's when you're able to be like, you know what? I'm going to go all in. I get to do what I want, be my own boss. And when you have that feeling, you just skyrocket to the top, I think, you know?
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, because this town that we're Westlake Village is a pretty like low key. There's a lot of like quiet money.
Okay, yeah.
Like there's a lot of it. So like driving a bright blue Ferrari around, it's either they love it, or they're like kind of like fuck this guy.
Okay, it's either one. It's not in between. Like,
but in the end of the day, they're still talking.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Like they're still talking about it. And anytime someone is mentioning your brand, you're making money.
Oh my God.
Because like, I mean, I'd rather be talked about than just crickets.
Right.
Because at least you're doing something. What you said earlier about people are kind of like holding back and how our parents are conservative, that used to kind of work. When inflation wasn't at 9% and interest rates weren't at 8%,
right?
like you could kind of just kind of stack your money slowly and buy one house every 3 years. And now by the time that our parents are like 50, 60 or whatever the case is, that would have worked for them back then.
Right.
You can't do that now. Like you can't just like slowly sit on your money and build it up. Like if you want to invest in real estate right now, you see it. You see it. The only people that are investing in real estate right now are really animals. They have serious income. Because you got to put a big down payment down if you're going to cash flow on something. So that used to work for them.
Right.
But now, like, can't do that.
Right. And again, I'm a realtor and I know you are. So I'm sure when you hear the numbers from like the lenders, how much they're putting down, sometimes you're even amazed. Even though we've been in this industry for so long, sometimes these numbers are still shocking when you're like, oh my God, they have to put that much down. So they're the sharks. They're really the ones that are like, I'm going all in. And they're pretty incredible numbers, honestly.
Yeah, if you're buying a $2 million house right now and your payment's 15, 16, whatever.
It's insanely high.
If you're eating that kind of a payment right now, you're an animal.
Right.
Like
so
you really,
you got to
shout out to buyers the big bucks.
Yeah, definitely. Love that. That's so crazy.
Do you guys do any investing or flips or anything? Or you just kind of stay in that niche that you know?
No, we do. We've invested into some real estate properties. So we have some properties that we do. We haven't got into flipping. We feel like we are not in that realm right now. We know people that do flipping and all that, but then I feel like we would have to be actually wearing the suits, going in the dirt, in the mud, and actually understanding the process. And we don't have time for that. I feel like that's another beast alone that we're just not entertaining at the moment. We're more about buying something that's going to be hold and appreciate. Because cash flow in Cali is just, let's just be real. It's, unless you're putting in a humongous down payment and you're like that beast that you're talking about, an animal, it doesn't work. You're not cash flowing enough. So being that we're also utilizing our funds in so many different avenues of business, we don't want to throw in a bunch of our money into that avenue of business right now.
It's risky too.
It's very risky. Plus,
but the reward is amazing.
The reward's amazing.
Yeah. We just have to learn it a little bit more for our personal self.
This is kind of a crazy time to be going into flipping. Not that I would discourage anybody from doing it.
Are you doing flips?
Yeah. So I do like a fair amount of flips. Okay. It's all about like right now, it's really hard to find deals to buy.
Of course.
And then the exit is like, you don't really know. So like I just had one where I put it up on the market for $2 million and it sat for probably like 3 weeks. And luckily I bought it correctly. So I was able to just drop it by $100,000 and not really feel it. Like I still had enough of a margin. So like flipping is a really good business, but to kind of the point that you guys are saying, like if you don't have experience in it right now, it's really easy to get hurt.
Right.
And some people are. Like agents are getting hurt. Flippers are getting hurt. Like if you're not working really hard and you're not really smart in this market, like you guys are seeing with other agents, employees, whatever, like you got to be careful.
Right. And even the hard money investors that we work with, I have a bunch of them that I work with. We have a hard money deal we're closing on one of our good friends right now, and they slashed off his rehab. They gave him no rehab because they were like, well, I don't know about this. I don't know about the appraisal. So all these variables are coming in this market where they feel like they're already assuming, these lenders are already assuming that, well, worst case, you're not really going to make this kind of value, and the appraisers are the same way. They're also cutting it so short because they also don't want to put their license on the line. So at the end, you're looking at this product you thought it was this big, and at the end, oh, well, you're going to have this little tiny little half-rotten apple now. And you have to kind of eat part of it. You can't even have it all anymore. So that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a lot of pushback on the hard money sector because you're coming in with, maybe not in your case, maybe you have a lot of experience, but we have some transactions where they're offering 15% down or 10% down, and they come back, well, now you need 20% down because of this area and no rehab money or half the rehab. Now you're washing off all these possible buyers that are interested in buying, or these investors that were hopeful to get these properties for cheaper so they can flip and make their money quick.
And this was like 2 days before closing escrow. So imagine somebody new in this industry. They get all this yes,
and then you got to,
and then you get a no.
G's at the end,
exactly.
So then in the end, some people will just be like, never mind, I don't even want to be in this industry or try these flips, or I just can't handle this. Luckily, our person who's doing this is a shark.
He has abundance of money.
They're able to make it happen. But I can only imagine if it was somebody who is just getting into this, put all the reserves on the line for this, and it didn't work out, and they had, they might just not want to ever do it again. But I know that the reward is, amazing though. If you can make it happen.
It's definitely like being very strategic, like I said, in the flipping space.
Right.
And if you don't have the money contacts, you're out.
Right.
Exactly.
It's a tight money market right now.
Right.
Like
Right.
they're not lending it at an aggressive ARV, which is an after repairs value. So when you getting a hard money loan, they're going to give you a certain amount of money based on what the house is worth after it's fixed up. Basically, the lenders are saying, we're not as bullish on this market as you are. We want you to put more money into the deal.
Right.
Correct.
To simplify this for anyone watching. And that is also eliminating a lot of people. So when you have contacts that you've done 10 loans with, 15 loans with, 20 loans with, whatever it is, they will get more aggressive with you. And that's why your relationships and being strategic matters.
Yes.
Like I'll just tell people the way I'm financing properties right now is I have other assets. So I'll do a 90% loan on the property, and then they'll take a second position on one of my other properties and they'll fund 100% of everything because they have cross collateralization is what it's called. You have to be like open to new ideas.
Right.
You have to be crafty. You have to buy well.
Right.
And if you're not doing all of those things, you're fucked.
Right, exactly. And some lenders don't even know how to do some of those things.
They don't.
Or they help you to do any of this. So one of those key factors, you're out, like you said.
I had to ask my hard money guy because he just wanted to do like a 90-10, which was good. I still would have done it.
Right.
But I was like, can you just put a second position on one of my other houses? And he was like, sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Yeah.
And,
but you gave him the idea.
But then that is ended up, that's how the whole deal ended up. If he didn't do it on the last one that I had just done, it would have been tight.
Wow.
Yeah.
It would have been
of
tight.
See,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. It would have been very uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
But we're very hopeful. The market, I think, eventually will switch its mood, and we'll probably see something with better interest rates and so forth. Sometime next year, I think that's my expectation after elections and all. Considering whoever's going to be elected at this point, I have no idea. I wouldn't be shocked with whatever happens. Anymore.
I think it's either going to be really, really good or probably bad. I'm hoping it's going to be really good.
Right,
I don't think there's
yeah.
a whole lot of room for the in-between right
I'm
now.
just thinking positively. I'm just going to say it's
Yeah.
going to be good.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's
just gonna bring that
already,
in.
we kind of like already had our real estate agent crash.
Yeah.
Like from just not a property value
Yeah,
crash.
right.
We already had our realtor crash because our deal volume got cut in half.
Yes.
And then now that the deal volume's in half, like
Right.
only the top 10% are going to eat the rest of the food.
Oh, of
my
course.
God, yeah.
Everyone else,
Right.
and that's why everyone's getting out of the business. For anyone
Right.
that's wondering, like, if you're a realtor right now, there's only half as much business to go around.
Right.
Yes.
And when things get tight like that, it's like if there was 10 guys in a room and there's a limited food supply, the biggest guy is going to go in there and take all the food, and the other people are going to die off.
Right.
Right.
And it sounds very like, but that's what it is.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes,
Like, that's just what it is
definitely.
right now.
Yeah, and even with all the new laws and just alone with real estate, that it got cut in half, but then even new laws got put in place.
Yeah.
So it's like if you're really, really not a shark in real estate, you're gonna be one of those people who are out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in
Yeah.
the end, it truly is how much work you put into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can only blame yourself, which I know that sounds really tough on people, but it's really the truth. I know you had Ricky Caruth on your show, and we also had him on our show. And one thing he's been posting recently, because commissions for buyer agents obviously are going to be getting cut in certain states,
And somehow,
you know,
it's
and
going
somehow
to. Yeah.
right a way or another. But he's like stating like, well, you know, if your value is really worth what it is, then your commission is not going to get cut because that, you know, buyer or the seller who knows how valuable you are, they're going to be paying for you rather than paying for that agent who is somebody who doesn't, you know, have value. They don't even know what they're doing. Like you said, the agents that are just drifting by.
Yeah.
You don't want that drifting by agent taking you to go see houses.
Yeah.
And you're only seeing 2 houses when you're working with like a Shane or a Mike and we're showing 5-8 houses
Yeah.
to make sure you're getting the best deal. Or the sellers don't want to work with that drifting selling agent who's only sold 1 to 0 properties in a year when you can work with that, you know, Shane Holmes who has a new company and is just dominating the market. Why wouldn't they choose you? So, you know, it is a really, really tough market, but, you know, I believe we can get through with it just with a little bit of that hard work, that old school hard work that everyone needs to do to get by, you know?
And overall, it's value, right? You got to just show value to people for
Yeah.
them to understand that you're worth whatever they're paying you.
Mhm.
Because at the end, I mean, everybody has a job to do. You know, people don't go to work at McDonald's or Amazon for free. People work and they want to collect their money, right? Same thing goes for our jobs. People will pay for Mike or for Shane to be the real estate agents if you show them your value, show them your credibility, show
Mm-hmm.
them your honest opinion about what you think about that property, and just be genuine and real, and people will buy into that very easily as long as you really are honestly hold everything with integrity.
Right.
And that's really the main thing.
And it's real hard work. Like, it's not like, we're not really working hard. Like, you literally just opened up an office where you took a commission cut, and I mean, basically, and also have to pay for a staff. Again, that is hard work, even creating your brand and making it be seen. The podcast we're on today, that takes so much work. So we're putting in the work and we're getting back what we're putting in. It's really what it is.
Yeah. I think that a lot of people kind of make the mistake of going to the office and even thinking about what's happening with the commission laws. Like, I have spent zero time thinking about it.
Same.
Yep.
I go into the office and I do exactly what I have to do
Right.
to go out and hunt and kill.
Yes.
When the law changes, I'll deal with it.
Right.
I'll figure out how to get around it.
Yes.
Like, it's either going to be a contract or a conversation.
Right.
That's
And
it.
there's nothing
Exactly.
else. Like,
Really?
what the fuck else are you
No,
going to do?
really.
Just sit there and worry about it for the next
Yes.
3 months until it hits?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
just go sell shit.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, exactly.
And every
Just
time
get
the
over
news
it.
goes crazy about it, that's all everybody's talking about.
yeah.
If there's no solution.
Yeah. Keep doing what you're doing.
Right.
And stop thinking about
you
it.
should look
Right.
at it as a lucrative thing because it's kind of washing off all the weak people. So if you're,
It is.
if you're
It's
strong,
100%.
Yeah.
Like, I would say that I'm probably getting come talk to me calls or come list me calls that I probably wouldn't have gotten in
Right.
like 2021. They'd
Right.
probably throw it up on the market with their friend.
Mhm.
Right.
And I'm getting a larger percentage of my business is now coming from those people than it would have before. Because like in 21, you throw your house up with your nephew that just got
Right.
their license.
They
and
would've-
you
Yes,
took iPhone
yes.
pictures
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
gone.
I was
we
waiting for this
remember that,
question.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, now you gotta
Yes.
show up. You have to
Uh-huh.
advertise better than everybody else.
Mhm.
I personally facilitate all of the showings that I can to move the property.
Right.
And like,
right.
if you're competing against someone that isn't doing all of those things, it's like
right.
shooting fish in a barrel
Yes.
in this
Yes.
down market. So
Right.
in a very weird way, I kind of love this market.
I do
In a
too.
very, very weird way,
Yes.
I know that my company is growing
Mhm.
and our infrastructure is growing and our
Yes.
staff is growing.
Right.
And we're still going to do similar revenue numbers to what we did, if not more, probably more than what we did in the good years.
Of course.
Because we're working
of course.
really hard right now. But when it finally turns and you
Right.
have all of the infrastructure in place,
Yes,
all these
yes.
other agents are going to be swarming back into the business, onesie,
Right.
twosie deals.
Yes.
And you have this infrastructure
Right.
built. Like, that's what
Bulletproof.
people need to be doing right now.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
no
you
one
gave me the
is.
chills.
Everyone's
Like,
crying
that
about
is
it.
So
Like-
powerful. Oh
and,
my
and
God, I
instead
love
of
it.
cutting, you're building. So that's
Mhm.
that's such a genius thing because a lot of people are retracting, they're pushing away, saying, well, I don't know if I'm going to hire more. Do I really need to fill this position? The fact is you're building this momentum that you're going to become this unstoppable machine because you're right. When the market turns, you don't want to be, okay, I'm going to hire. Now
Yeah.
I'm going to build my
Right.
infrastructure.
Yeah.
Well,
Way too late, bro.
Mr.
Yeah.
Billy over there has already
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
making it happen because he's got
Yeah.
his infrastructure already put
Mhm.
together. We were in the same position when we came over to the mortgage lenders in Rodeo.
Mhm.
We didn't let anybody go. We continued with the same people we built, we hired, and continuously even we have our assistant because we value the fact of growth versus let's push back on some of the expenses because we're worried that the market might not be the best versus let's reinvest everything back. Let's keep everybody. Let's train everybody. Let's grow more. Let's hire somebody else. You should, like I keep telling them, hire somebody else, hire somebody else. He knows how I am. I'm just like, spend the money, spend the money.
Yeah.
I'm that guy because I feel like the moment the momentum dies out, you kind of die out yourself. And then all of a sudden, let's be real, how many ships have we seen sink in front of us? It sank. I lost it. I didn't get in the boat in enough time because we chose to push back and wait.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then when you
Mhm.
waited
True.
too long, the guy that didn't wait took off already on the ship with all his money.
Yeah.
With all your clients with that opportunity.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
sorry, babe, we can't go to Hawaii this year.
Yeah.
You know, because we made the mistake of not cashing in on our own chips of,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
wishing ourselves the best.
And it seems like you don't wait. You know, you're only 30 years old, right?
Mhm.
Amazing. And you have all this that you have created, your company, 10 years in real estate. Like, this is so epic. Like, we're so inspired. You know, where do you get all this like drive from, or this like I'm just gonna go all in?
Dude, I have no idea.
Okay, because I'm
You know
like
what?
I
If-
need
okay,
some of this.
So I have kids.
Mhm.
I have a close relationship with God, and that really kind of like helps ground me and motivate me to do things the right way and to grow. But honestly, I remember being like a 16-year-old kid
Mhm.
and going to my friend's dad's house, who was super, super well. You know, they had a 4,000 square foot warehouse just full of supercars,
Wow.
and I was like, "Whoa,
Oh.
this exists."
Uh-huh.
Like, because when I was
Wow.
growing up, like I had to work for it. My parents didn't give me money.
Okay.
I had to
yes.
work for everything. So,
Mhm,
and I kind of
mhm.
grew up at a very affluent school, but
Yes.
we didn't have money. I had like financial aid to be there and stuff.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And so I'm around all of this stuff, but I didn't have it. So like just from a young age, I had to do it.
Mhm.
And then that kind of like carried through into getting older. Like I'm just
Got
ready.
it.
I'm ready for the
Wow.
smoke.
Yeah. I like literally saw that warehouse in your eyes, like literally
Yeah.
you looking
Yeah,
at it.
I
and
remember,
probably
dude.
just-
And then I go to the guy, his name's Bob.
okay.
I go, Bob, does money make you happy?
Mhm.
And I wasn't really sure how he was going to respond, but he
Okay.
looks at me, he goes, of course it fucking does.
Oh my wow. Yes. That's
And
the
ever
best
since then, and you know
response
what?
ever.
He was right.
Best response.
As long
ever.
as the rest of your life is in order,
Mhm.
money adds happiness.
Yes.
And I don't care what anybody else says.
Absolutely.
Right,
It absolutely
right, right.
improves your
Yes,
health, your
right.
well-being, your
Yes.
security, your ability
Agree.
to invest and not work. Like it improves
Mhm.
everything
It really
so
does.
much. And I don't know why there's this narrative around money
Right.
that money's bad or like
Right.
once you make over a certain amount, you don't get any
Mhm.
happier.
Mhm.
If you're a happy person,
Yes.
money will make you happier. If you're a sad
Exactly.
person, money will make you more sad.
Right. Right.
That's
Oh
how
my
that's how I
God.
look at
Absolutely
it.
agree.
So
100%.
true.
Yep.
Agree 100% as well. That's amazing.
And what made you want to get into real estate? Was it your
Mhm.
relationship with Eli or
I mean, really quick, it honestly was because I just really love helping people, and I was like in the dental field, the medical field before. People would come in with cavities. I mean, they were literally crying. They would be walking out with a smile because they were obviously numb now. No, but
Yeah.
we fixed their cavities, and they're like, okay, I don't have to be in this pain anymore. And I would just love going home from work knowing that I helped people.
yeah.
And then one day I did see my brother. He is a real estate agent, and he had like a check for like $13,000 on his desk. And I was like, where did you get this check? And how long did it take you to make this? And he was like, 30 days. And I sold the property. I was
Yeah.
like, I was making $18,000 a year being a dental assistant. He made $13,000 in 1 month.
Yeah.
And the great thing is he's still got to help people. So as a realtor, I know you know this. When you give keys to an investor or a family or a buyer helping somebody sell their property, when you see that look in their eye,
Mhm.
when the transaction is done and you truly help them, it's just the most amazing feeling because you know
Right.
you helped somebody.
Yeah.
So in my heart, I was like, wow, I literally still get to help people if I be a real estate agent, but I also get to make really good money too.
Mhm.
And so when I put two and two together, I was like, you know what? I'm going to get out of the medical field and go into real estate.
That's awesome.
So that's how I became real
Yeah.
estate
It was
agent.
either blood or paper, right?
Right. Yeah. It was either mask and being able to be infected on a daily basis or, still helping people, making great money and, still seeing no more masks. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So-
Yeah.
I remember, like, I'll never forget my first commission check. It
Mhm,
was like,
mhm.
I want to say it was like close to 20 grand or
Amazing.
something like that.
Oh my God.
And I was like 20 years old and I was like, that's when it hit.
okay.
I was like,
okay.
what?
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
never seen money like this before.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Right,
Yeah.
yes,
Like,
yeah.
so like kind of part of what you asked earlier, like that was another part of it was
Mhm.
like kind of seeing that first check come in.
Yes.
And I was in car sales before and I
Okay.
had owned a car customization business
Mhm.
when I was like 19.
Okay.
And then I was, making a little bit of money.
Yeah, I was
selling
gonna
cars,
say
a little
so
bit of
those
this.
checks were at like 3,000.
Yeah, small.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Small
Comparison.
checks. Maybe like I think I made like $8,000 on a car flip once.
Okay. Okay.
And I met my parents' real estate agent,
okay.
and I get to see this guy,
Mhm.
and I'm like, this guy's an asshole.
Yeah.
He's making this
Yeah,
money. Like,
right,
I'm literally doing this. So I got my real estate license.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That story. Oh
And,
my God.
and what got you into mortgage lending?
Yeah.
So actually, I was a real estate agent first. So there was a guy that came to my parents' house a long time ago, and they knocked on the door. Hey, you're looking to sell your home? I'm like, well, I'm just the son. I was like, I think 21, 22 years old at the time. So he was like, hey, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I do sales. They were like, what do you sell? Oh, I sell knives. I sell, because I used to be in Cutco Cutlery.
Yeah.
I used to sell knives. Also sold vacuums, and I used to be a collector for this medical company called Trident. So I got pretty good at sales with closing people.
Mhm.
But he was like, oh, why don't you do real estate? I'm like, I mean, sure, why not? I was already in between jobs. I'm like, why not? Let's try it. Tried real estate for a few months. I wasn't really too open to it. I'm not really fascinated with showing property. I'm fascinated with math, with numbers,
Mhm.
with being able to tell somebody you owe this much money for 30 years. I know it sounds crazy, but it's just the analytics of understanding the mathematics of real estate, of the mortgage itself, was very interesting to me.
Mhm.
I'm an accounting major. I went to Cal State Fullerton.
Okay.
So I felt the need to switch from real estate to lending.
That makes sense though.
Which
Right,
it did
right.
make sense because I closed maybe one real estate deal, but it didn't really feel like I was drawn to it. I feel like there's more. I feel like I want something complicated. Because I feel like real estate, it's not. I'm not saying nothing bad about it.
It's very complicated.
But it's not
a different world though. Then,
but yeah, it's just a different world.
Yeah.
The
math exactly.
Yeah. The math for me, for some reason, because of the complexity of programs and changes, and having to tell somebody, hey, by the way, let's go over your finances.
Yeah.
Now we open up. It's kind of like I dissected somebody's brain versus like, here's keys, you get a house. I get to dissect. I get to see what's going on. What are the problems? What's the issue? How much do you have in reserves? How can we build a better future with you financially? So I started becoming this analyst with numbers, and I just felt like mortgage was my calling.
Yeah, it fit your
it just did. It
personality.
Just, it totally did. And then 22 years later, I've closed probably thousands of loans already, and I feel like I'm drawn to it. I just love numbers, and I feel like the fact that people get to call me and say, hey, thank you for giving me the opportunity to explain to you how my finance works, how my situation is. It's kind of like I'm part of the family as well. Like, yeah, real estate, you give keys, and that's hugely impactful as well. They get to sleep in a bed and realize that the realtors gave them that opportunity. Because let's be real, you guys are the first. You guys are the face.
Right.
We're more behind the scenes, but in the behind the scenes, we get to understand a lot more of what goes in the house.
Yeah.
How much is being accumulated? How much are they reserving? Let's plan you for a refinance to get you out of this higher interest loan, especially in today's market. So there's something in that up and down wave pattern that interests me.
Yeah.
And because of that, I've been in loans for the longest time.
Love it.
Which is why we're doing educational stuff now, because I think I've done it for so long that now I got to teach somebody how to do it.
You've been doing it for a while. Yeah.
Right.
I kind of like the education business. I know that at some point I will launch some kind of a product. I don't know what that looks like yet.
Yes.
But I do love that side of like, I was a soccer goalie for a bunch of years, and I was a trainer like when I was younger.
Wow.
And so like coaching people is fun.
Wow. Yeah.
And
okay.
it's
It is.
exciting.
You already have it in you.
Yeah, I just don't know exactly where to speaking of coaching, you need to hire an assistant, bro.
Oh my God. I know. Trust
You know what's happening right
dying.
now? I'm on this podcast. My new operations manager who just started today, Jen, shout out. She is amazing. She's crushing it on her first day. She's calling my old open house leads while I'm here doing this.
Oh my
Fabulous
God, no.
idea.
And that's why
fabulous.
like hiring people is like, that's why I got so crazy about hiring people this year. I was like, okay, I know how much an hour of my time is worth. So if I can get someone to do 80% of what I'm doing, a lesser cost, like that really opened up. And seeing that today, and that was literally new for me today. So I'm not trying to like big dog the situation.
I think me and Scarlett can agree, right?
But it's so great to have, dude.
Definitely.
It's so great.
I'm going home and I'm gonna find an assistant, operations manager, whatever it takes.
He always tells me like, Eli, why do you have so many assistants? I'm like, because I get to be on the podcast, I get to be on social media, I get to do things in the background. Because if I was, if you didn't have your assistant, you're thinking behind the scenes like, did I call that lead? Am I going to get a deal? You're so lost in the work versus somebody else can now do, like you said, the 80% of the work you don't want to do.
Yes.
While you get to scale and grow your business on the other side.
Yeah.
That's what I tell them all the time. Like,
right.
Forget about the pay.
After today.
Forget about the pay.
Inspired.
Like a big thing of what triggered that is I know that I'm joining that a country club. And a round of golf is 4 hours. That's 4 hours of my business sitting there.
Yep.
Doing nothing. Yes, I'm building relationships. So it's growing in that way.
Of course.
But the operations side of leads being touched or follow up, all of that stuff is going to be sitting there while I'm at the country club drinking a Casamigos soda on the golf course.
Right. Exactly.
And you know what? I also saw the worst case of that as well. Is I'll give you a perfect example. When we started doing a lot more social media, you get a lot of biased agents and lenders thinking that you're just out there partying and networking without calling buyers back. So let's just say you have a buyer or a lead from another agent or another client, and then they see you partying and having a good time at the golf course and you haven't called the lead. We've gotten trashed by that, right? Like, I see you partying out there. I see you having a good time, but you never called my lead, huh? As I learned and grew, you realize you got to find somebody to replace and make those calls for you, because then you don't have those people calling you out. Yeah. Because you're always on podcasts, you're always doing real estate stuff. I'm always out there trying to do something crazy. And the last thing you want to do is leave opportunities on the table when it's ready to be nurtured. It's a hot lead. You're ready to call it, but you're out doing the podcast. So I think that was a great idea that you hired somebody.
Really this year from starting the brokerage, I finally started really treating this as a business. Before, I was always just a very skilled salesperson. That is how I operated for 10 years. And then this year I finally was like, okay, if I don't treat this like a business, I'm always going to be in the same exact spot. Yeah, I'll grow year over year and still continue to make good money and have that stable growth. But like scaling out doesn't happen without treating it like a business.
Right.
Of course.
I've run, you might think this is
Wow.
crazy. You guys might both think this is crazy. I've gone 10 years without a CRM. No CRM. All of my leads are on a piece of paper.
Oh my God, it's not.
And
crazy,
it's
I get you.
like the dumbest thing ever.
Mhm,
And I
mhm.
finally, like today,
Yeah.
I was sitting down with Jen and I was putting my leads into the CRM and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. I actually
Yeah.
know where these people are.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
No,
actually,
I feel you on that. I went a couple of years exactly the same way, and
Yeah.
I think you said exactly what I felt too. As skilled agent, when you're just skilled at what you're doing, sometimes you forget that
Mhm.
you really do need to treat it like a business because you have those deals coming in already. You're like, okay, I'm okay. There's like obviously 5
Yeah.
compared to 0. You're like, I'm good. But in all reality, you could have 10, you could have 15.
right.
But if you treat it like a business, you know what I mean? So that is so powerful and inspiring
Yeah,
to say
true.
that. Honestly, I love that. Thank you.
Awesome.
Mhm,
Well,
mhm.
Eli, Mike,
Yes.
thank you guys so much for coming on today.
Anytime.
Thank you.
I appreciate you guys
Thank
making the
you.
drive out.
Appreciate
Love
you.
making this connection.
Yes, definitely.
And we'll do it again soon.
Definitely.
Absolutely,
We learned
let's do
so
it.
much, so many
Yeah.
golden nuggets. Like you are only 30 years old and you trained me on so many different things. I'm going to go back and watch
He needs
this.
to hire an
And,
assistant.
you know, hire an
Yeah.
assistant. and
Now
so
he's
many
going to
other
be on
things.
your ass about
Right,
it.
right. Yeah.
well,
Next time we
Shane
talk.
said.
Right. So thank you for all the golden nuggets. We appreciate you for having us today. So
Yeah, I
blessed.
appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.